What is up, Dynasty DNA Strand crew? I'm your host, Wizz. Come back to you guys with another Dynasty DNA roster audit. You can follow me on Twitter or on X, whatever we're going to call it, at Dynasty Wiz FF. Today, I'm joined here by TJ. What's going on, TJ?
Hello, darkness, my old friend. I've come to talk with you again, because a vision softly creeping.
Wiz, what can I say? I want my 6th round pick back, Wiz. I want my 6th round pick back. Everyone knows how. I mean, we got this in the Discord. How's TJ, Andy, Ty Moss, whoever, who's going to react to this? How are they going to react to this? I'm the first one, okay? I feel like I'm taking the bullet for the team. Justin Fields is on the Steelers. Let me ask you this, Wiz. I've known you for a couple years now. What did I do to deserve this?
Man,
what did I do?
If anything, man, you guys got lucky. A 6th round pick. You guys traded Kenny Pickett for way more than that. So you basically got Justin Fields for free if you think about it that way.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, you're such a good friend. You always try to make me feel better about these things. I will say this. I don't mind him as a backup, Wiz, but it just worries me because I know what's going to happen. We're going to do the same thing we always do. We think we're good. We're not that good. We don't have a good quarterback. We're going to go out there. We'll finish 9-8, and then we'll play in the parade because we're going to the playoffs, and we'll lose to Buffalo or Kansas City, and it won't even be close. But here we are. We're stuck with it. What do I do now? I mean, I'm stuck with it. I got to watch this on Sundays. I mean, I don't know what I'm going to do.
You got to buy
You're gonna have to
buy a jersey. That's what you got to do.
Oh, no. I'm not buying no more memorabilia. No more until we actually – that's what I said. I just want to suck so we can get a quarterback in the top of the draft, and I'll take my chances, and we'll rebuild this thing. But nope, we'd rather go 500. But that's enough of that because I know the fans are here for a roster audit, but I had to speak my feelings on this because it's Sunday night. This is the first time we got together to do any kind of shows since the news broke, and I knew everyone was waiting to hear this. So that's my feelings on it, and you'll hear more about it on the quarterback show on Dynasty DNA coming out Wednesday morning, and you'll get Ty's, Andy's, Muss's, and mine live reaction. But I'm not going to take this out on the good people in Discord, Wiz. That's not me. I'm going to put all my upset, hated feelings aside. Who are we breaking down today?
Yeah, so we're breaking down HamShanks13's roster. So it's going to be a super flex, non-tight end premium. What direction he wants to go in is contending. And then any other additional information we should know. He said not tied to any players, traded 2 mid-first for Cooper Kupp and CMC. So that was a big trade that he did. Made a few more trades to round out the team, losing my 2nd and 3rd round selections. Pretty easy to trade in the league for the most part. It seems like managers don't value picks as much as players.
Okay.
But, I mean, I think that might be a little contradictory, you know? Cooper Kupp and CMC for 2 mid-firsts. I mean,
I think he did well. Yeah. I mean, I know Cooper Kupp, like, let's be honest, like, everyone was – you're not always going to get them Triple Crown seasons. I mean, you are worried he is getting older. And, like, I'm like, you know me, I'm kind of in the middle between Ty and Muscles. Like, Muscles is like, he's done, he's cooked, give me picks. And then you got Ty who's like, he had one bad year, relax, it'll be okay. So it's like I'm kind of in the middle. So as a contender, though, what you paid for Cooper Kupp and Christian McCaffrey, HamShanks, I think you did well. Don't beat yourself up. I mean, I think you can agree with that, right?
Oh,
Liz?
absolutely. And it sucks that you got 2nd place this past year in the league. But, I mean, you guys still probably got a little bit of money back. So.
All right. But I'll tell you what right now here, HamShanks, looking at your team, I know you want to contend. The very first glaring weakness that you have that's going to prevent you from doing that, your tight end position. You have Darren Waller sitting there. He was contemplating retirement. I do, like we talked about this before the show, Wiz. I think the Giants will be better next year. I don't think they'll be great by any means. I'm not sitting here endorsing them, but I don't think they'll be as bad of a train wreck as they was last year. I mean, if they have the injuries they had, they might. But all things aside, I don't feel comfortable with Darren Waller as my tight end 1 if I'm trying to contend. I will say this, HamShanks, and Wiz knows I joke about this, but this is a sneaky player you have on your bench. Jonnu Smith going to the Miami Dolphins now. That's not a bad piece to have, but I still wouldn't want him as my starter. I do like him. But looking right here, D-God Chris, We actually broke his team down on the last episode, I believe. So I think you guys could be a really nice trade partner here. He's got 3 really good tight ends, and we know he's going the rebuild route. So you could easily pick up a tight end off of him. He has Travis Kelce sitting there. He has also Dalton Schultz, and he has also Evan Ingram. So there's 3 ways I'd approach this, Wiz, and I want to see what you think. The very first move I would make with D-Guy Chris, knowing he's a rebuilder, I wouldn't mind trading him 111 for Travis Kelce. Would you?
No, I would not mind that whatsoever. But for picks wise, he has the 1.3 and only the 1. Or and like 4 dot something. But that's 4th round pick. Doesn't really matter. But even my 25 first, I mean, you're projecting super late. It's the same thing, you know. I wouldn't mind trading my 25 first for Travis Kelce. But also, I mean, we talked about Evan Ingram. He's kind of been one of those sneaky guys that does not get the respect. He's kind of like Brandon Cooks from years past. Where he would just always produce and no one cared about him because he was Brandon Cooks. Evan Ingram kind of falls in that same fold, and I think Evan Ingram could be a good buy, and you could get him for a little bit cheaper than Travis Kelce. So,
yeah, I agree. I mean, but I will say this, HamShanks, and I think you agree with this too, Wiz, opposed to Travis Kelce. Like, the only tight end he has I'd be willing to give a first for is Travis Kelce if it's a later first. And Evan Ingram, I think you could pick up Evan Ingram for a second. If he wouldn't do a second straight up, could you trade him a second in a player like Treylon Burks? You know what I mean? I mean, there's kind of a little buzz there in Tennessee with the new coach, new offense. I'm not a big Treylon Burks guy, but at the same time, if you're D-Guy Chris, you pick up a younger player and a pick, and it kind of makes sense. I mean, would you be willing to trade Treylon Burks in a second for Evan Ingram?
Yeah, absolutely. And I also wouldn't mind trading Josh Downs straight up for Evan Ingram in there. I think that's a good win-win. And we could also look at possibly trading Jordan Addison for Travis Kelce. I don't know if that would get it done or how fair that would be across the board. But I mean, quarterback is the biggest question right now in Minnesota. But it looks like they're going to be trading up to get J.J. McCarthy or Drake May or Daniels, whoever falls. But right now with Sam Darnold, I'm not confident with any of those Minnesota Vikings pass catchers outside of Justin Jefferson, just because of what kind of guy he is. But, I mean, you have Jackson Smith and Jigma. He's kind of beyond on a sophomore redshirt year, looks like, with Tyler Lockett returning, which kind of is unfortunate. So, I mean, those are like your movable pieces, right? You want to continue to maximize your points best as you can. And those guys are not going to produce those the price tag they currently have in Dynasty. Those are going to be the guys that I'm going to try to move to get points.
Yeah. And I like what you said about Jordan Addison. I like that a lot because, I mean, honestly, like you said, we don't know about the quarterback situation in Minnesota. Justin Jefferson is still there for now. And, I mean, TJ Hawkinson will eventually come back from that injury. So you got a bunch of premier targets with bad quarterback play, most likely, unless, like, J.J. McCarthy turns out to be great, which I don't know. I haven't really watched much tape on him yet. I'm getting to it. But, I mean, I think I would trade Jordan Addison for Travis Kelce if I'm HamShanks, because then you don't have to give up a pick. And that's kind of makes good sense. And you might get rid of an asset that could be, he's a nice player, but we've seen it with Drake London in Atlanta. When you don't have good quarterback play, brings you down. So you could trade Jordan Addison for Travis Kelce. I like that. Also looking at HamShanks' team here with running back depth. That's another big concern of mine. Anytime you're wanting to contend, you want to have running back depth. And honestly, I mean, like I hate trading any good assets for running backs. You know that. That's never fun. But if you could pick up a couple lower-end guys, and I'm going to go right back down here to D-Guy Chris. Like I said, he's rebuilding. It makes perfect sense. He has Ramondre Stevenson, James Conner, and Raheem Mostert. I mean, could I try to maybe offer him a third for any of them running backs, see if he takes it? I mean, I think it's worth a try. I really don't want to pay a second if I don't have to. But I do think he needs to add another running back. What do you think about a trade with D-Guy Chris here for maybe one of his guys, like something that makes sense, maybe something a little cheaper? You have anything in mind?
Yeah, I mean, Raheem Mostert's probably the biggest one that sticks out. I'm not a big Stevenson guy. James Conner, I mean, I don't know how long he's going to be able to keep the wheels turning there. Gus Edwards might be a nice back. Depends on who the Chargers bring in, so I probably wouldn't do anything until post-draft, unless it's like dirt cheap. Like maybe I would trade the 4th straight up for Gus Edwards, because we've seen Gus Edwards, I mean, and without PPR formatting, he was an RB1 this past year just from sheer touchdown volume. In there, we know John Harbaugh wants to run the ball, and that's what they're going to do in Los Angeles. But looking elsewhere, Clasey, which is going to be right now, Dynasty Nerds is projecting him to be the winner of the league if it would end just by projections, not actually playing football. But he has a lot of running backs here. You know, he has Derrick Henry, DeAndre Swift, Joe Mixon. I think those guys would be real great if you could get those. Especially you're weakening your competition. If you could trade him a pick, trade him your first round for DeAndre Swift, I would do that. Derrick Henry, can you package like some upside wide receiver guys like Josh Downs and maybe get something back on top of it? I don't know. But that's also something I would look at, trying to weaken your competition a little bit.
Definitely, and I like that. I like your thinking. You know, you maybe take one of these contenders down a little bit. And you know this. I mean, you've played fantasy a long time. I don't care if it's redraft. I don't care if it's dynasty. If you're contending, you got to have running back depth. You got to have it. It's a body bag game, man. And these guys get hurt. And whenever you lose someone like that, like a starting running back, like he has Christian McCaffrey and Breece Hall, that is phenomenal. But, boy, if one of them go down, that is a real blow. I mean, even if you lose them for 4 weeks, if you have no depth, that could cost you big time in the playoffs. I'm looking, too, down here at this J.C. Geisto. If you want to go a little bit of the cheaper route, HamShanks, Zach Moss. I mean, we know he's in Cincinnati. Could I pick him up for a late third? I mean, just to get another running back on the roster, I wouldn't mind doing that. But I will say this, no matter what you're going to do here, and like I see down here too, Super Bowl Giants has Miles Sanders. Maybe I just try offering a fourth. I mean, really, he's so devalued right now. You pick him up for a fourth, maybe, with the new coaching staff, new regime, they did pay him a lot of money. Maybe they want to run him. Maybe they get him going. So I wouldn't mind maybe trying to get a discount on Miles Sanders either. But I will say this, Wizz, and I think you agree with me on this. No matter what, HamShanks, do not trade for a running back until the NFL draft is over. Because any one of these guys could easily be replaced, or we could see someone coming in and cutting into their timeshare, and that is a killer. So we don't want that. Do you agree with that too?
Yeah, absolutely. Even with the draft class being projected to be a down year for running backs, values are definitely going to fluctuate. So even if, I'm trying to think of an example, but like Jonathan Brooks goes to Green Bay, right? Josh Jacobs is there. Josh Jacobs' value is going to go down a little bit. There's going to be a dip in there, and you can buy that dip and get him cheaper than what you would have paid right now. But I wouldn't wait too long, because once the point scoring season comes back around, that's when all these older guys are going to increase back in value, because everyone's like, I need points now. I can't just focus on youth. So I just keep that in mind as well.
Right. Yeah, but I do, maybe not so much Zach Moss, but particularly Miles Sanders. I mean, he's been so devalued, and the fact that they paid him what they paid him, you got to think that they're going to try to get him going. I mean, you could pick him up even for a late third, I wouldn't mind it. But, boy, if you get him for a fourth as a contender, that's a gamble I'm willing to take. I think that wouldn't be a bad move at all. I mean, so them are some moves I'm looking at. What picks does he have?
He has the 103.
Okay. Does he have any, second or third round?
Nope, not for 24. He has a fourth and 24, I'd say.
Okay, so, I mean, with that fourth-round pick, there's a guy that you and I really like, Ray Davis. I'd take a chance on him. Maybe somebody like that in the later rounds. I personally don't mind Frank Gore Jr., but I think I would use that fourth on a running back, no doubt, looking at his roster. I mean, the chances of hitting on a running back down there compared to a wide receiver or any other skill position, I think your chances are better hitting on a running back, especially in this class, being it is weaker. Someone's going to break out somewhere. So I think I would do that as well, HamShanks. Use that fourth-round pick on a running back. I think that's the route to go if I'm doing that. But one other glaring weakness here, Wizz, and, I mean, it's not really glaring, but it's something that concerns me as a contender. I know that Muscles brings this up all the time, and it is true. If you look at the stats, I mean, the stats don't lie, and, I mean, we've seen it with our own eyes because we watch the games every year. He has Tua sitting there in his second spot in his quarterbacks, in a Superflex league. I love Tua in September. I like him in October. I can stand him in November and December. It's like, why do I have this guy on my roster? Because as soon as the weather gets cold, he struggles, man. And when's the fantasy playoffs? It's always in December, heading into January, and that's when the weather gets cold, and that's when Tua struggles. And as a contender, that's got to concern me. I'm not going to let it shape my whole roster. And if I can't get a right trade for him, I'm not going to make it. But I think that if I am you, HamShanks, around the beginning of the start of the season, could I maybe possibly flirt with moving Tua to another team and maybe trying to maybe not so much upgrade, but maybe in some people's eyes downgrade, but you're really upgrading? I know like Brock Purdy, I think would be a nice target. Could you get Brock Purdy plus for Tua? I think that something I would try. I know that's something that we kind of talked about in different situations for Tua. Could I get my main man, number 10 up there in Green Bay land, Jordan Love, in plus for Tua? I would do that as well. And you got to think too, with Brock Purdy and Tua, a little bit, you know, you're a little wee bit younger. You're setting the clock back a little bit with some of these guys. I mean, it might not hurt. I mean, it's definitely not getting older, so you're not losing age. I mean, you could pick up a year or two, you know, on the younger side, depending on who you're targeting. But Tua is someone that I'm not comfortable with, and he has Russell Wilson in his quarterback 3 spot. We just talked about Justin Fields being with the Steelers. I've said it all along. It's going to be a clown show with Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. We got 2 guys that ain't the best, and we're going to, as soon as Russell struggles, they're going to want to see Justin Fields. So I don't have a good feeling about that either, unless Russ plays really well. And Tua is someone I'm looking to move with, and one of them moves I think that I just mentioned, like, could I get Brock Purdy plus? Could I get Jordan Love plus? I'd be willing to do that. What say you?
Yeah, absolutely. And if you don't want to try to tier up to get, or I guess do a lateral move, or, you know, you always go for like the cheap bargain bin, like old reliable Kirk Cousins as well. You could get plus for him. You know, he's moving to just as good of a situation in Atlanta as what he was in Minnesota. He's going to have a better offensive line. And he's going to have still high-quality targets with Drake London and Kyle Pitts there. And he has Bijan to actually have a run game for him. And then you could pick up plus on the return on that as well. And you could always backfill that with the 103 pick. If you want to keep that pick, you could take Daniels or May, whoever falls to you. Because I'm guessing it's going to be Caleb Williams, Martin Harrison Jr. is going to be 1-2. But, I mean, you have a lot of options on there for quarterback-wise. You know, you have a guy like Gray, the dog. You know, he has Jalen Hurts, Justin Herbert, C.J. Stroud, and Daniel Jones. He has all 4 of those guys.
Wow.
Can you trade the 103 and give a little plus to get C.J. Stroud as well, so you can have Tua and Dak Prescott and C.J. Stroud on your bench, you know? And that way, when December hits, you can start Stroud over Tua 100% of the time, because you'll be like, he can't play in the cold. So it's some other options you can look at. And there, what would you do if you had the 103, TJ? Even you're trying to get 10 that year.
I think you got to go quarterback. I mean, you almost have to, looking at your roster, because Russell Wilson, man, he's coming to the end. I mean, if this doesn't go good with the Steelers, and it's a big if, I mean, you're sitting there with just Tua, and we know Tua gets hurt a lot too. I mean, last year, knock on wood, he stayed healthy, but I don't feel comfortable with the health situation. Honestly, judging by the tape right now as it sits, I would take Jaden Daniels at the 103, but landing spot could change that. I know we talked about that with Drake May. If Drake May goes to Washington, I'm probably going Drake May. If Drake May goes to the Giants, I mean, it's a little risky, but I think Brian Daboll will be a great coach for Drake May. I would probably take Drake May, but if Drake May goes to New England and Jaden Daniels goes to Washington, I'm going to take Jaden Daniels at the 103. And I think that's the most likely scenario from everything we've seen and heard. We'll see what happens, but I think that's where I would go. I mean, it's tough passing up a prospect like Neighbors, but he's got a lot of talent on this team, and he's got some young receivers. I mean, he's got Garrett Wilson, he's got Chris Olave, he's got Michael Pittman. It wouldn't kill him if he would go quarterback, and I think he needs to for depth purposes. But let me ask you this, Wizz. So he's in contention mode. There's a couple other guys down here on his bench: Jordan Addison, JSN, Josh Downs, guys that have been okay, but hasn't set the world on fire. I mean, Jordan Addison had a stretch there, but like you said, no Kirk Cousins. So I'm like looking at different teams. Like I look at Clay Sy, he has T. Higgins. I would flip Jordan Addison for T. Higgins. I mean, once he gets his contract situation in order, if he gets traded, whatever, I'm not saying do it right now, but that's just an example. Could I just take and do that? Like I'm getting somebody that maybe is a little more proven, but yet still young. We could just flip player for player. I like JSN, but Muscle said it best. He's the third receiver in a Geno Smith-led offense. that doesn't make you feel real good. So could I take him and package him and make some kind of a trade to where I can get a similar asset back? Could I try to get a 105 for him, a 106, just to see if someone would take it? I mean, I would try that too. There's some good prospects in here. I like Roma Dunze as well. You know how I feel about Brian Thomas. I mean, Brock Bowers. I mean, hey, you need a tight end. If you get 105 or 106, you might be able to grab Brock Bowers there. So maybe you try to package a deal together like that where you could get a pick like that. What say you, Wizz?
Yeah. I could also, move it for a running back. Barkley kind of sticks out. You get Barkley plus for the 103. And there, if you want to focus more on quarterback, I don't know if you would have to add anything to move up to Kyler for the 103 or not, but that's also another way you can look at it. But, I mean, there's a lot of things you do with the 103. I just would probably hold on to it for now, wait for the draft to kind of really iron itself out to see where the landing spots are, and then who knows, shop the 103 around, shoot high, and if you don't get the offer you want, that you think it's not going to help bolster my running back room, it's not going to help me with my quarterback situation, it's not going to help me with my tight end situation, then walk away and take the best available player.
Yeah, I agree. And like, just real quick, one team, and I make fun of this team, and I did the last time, Seminole win, semicolon. You got to get him in here. But like Jordan Addison, JSN, could I take Jordan Addison, flip him for Rashee Rice plus? I'd do that easy if he would do it. I would maybe see what he's willing to do. Honestly, I would take it straight up, but could you get a plus? It just depends on how some people value these guys. I'm looking at his roster. Brandon Ayuk. Could I get Brian Ayuk? Brian Ayuk. Can I get Brandon Ayuk for JSN? Could I get Brandon Ayuk for Jordan Addison? I would do that as well. I mean, are you on board with a move like that?
Yeah, absolutely, especially if you get it done. I mean, worst case, you have guys like Devontae Adams as well over on Guy and Chris's team. We know he's going to try to move. He's going to move that aging asset away. And there, can you package Tua and JSN, Jordan Addison, whoever he views as higher for Devontae Adams and Lamar Jackson. That's something else you can do. Lamar Jackson's a tremendous fantasy asset, especially for point scorers. That's what he does. He gets the ground game. He's one of the best quarterbacks on the ground. So there's a lot of ways you could tackle it there. TJ Bro, he has Jake Ferguson as well. That could be a nice little in there. Can you trade him for a second, 25 seconds straight up? Maybe he takes it, maybe he doesn't. But, I would shop around because, I mean, if you can't get that top 5 tight end, 6 through 10, 12 is not that big of a difference. You're looking at a couple points per game. So that's always an option as well. You don't need to invest highly into your tight end room if you don't, especially if you have Breece Hall, CMC, and they stay healthy all throughout the year. You don't really have to worry about making up points because those guys are already going to do it for you.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you, man. And I mean, but there's one other thing I want to ask you, going back to the running backs real quick, and this just piqued my curiosity because I want to see how you feel about this, because this is a guy that, like, you could be on either side of the fence. Clay Sy has Zamir White. Would you trade a 25-second for Zamir White if you were trying to win, or would you just pass? Do you think the Raiders are going to add a running back?
I mean, there's risk involved with that trade. I probably shop my 25-second elsewhere. Can it get it done for Joe Mixon? I think Joe Mixon's going to score more points than Zamir White this season.
DeAndre Swift?
I think DeAndre Swift's a first round pick value right now. So I don't know if the second gets it done. But, I mean,
you could try.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it doesn't hurt to try. But, I mean, worst case, kind of like what we've been going back to now is like just, you have your JSN, Jordan Addison, Josh Downs. You can package those guys up and fill in your wide receiver, your running back room. And tear down a little bit, move some of your wide receiver assets away. And also, if you want to go dirt cheap on the quarterbacks, you have Aaron Rodgers right now. There's rumors that he's going to run for vice president. So buy the dip on that one, maybe. I don't know.
That's the rumor. That's what I heard. I mean, you just never know with these things today in the NFL. So something to definitely watch out for, right? Yeah, that's definitely wild. When I seen that, I'm like, what? But, another player, too, just real quick. I mean, Clay Sy has him. And I think he is a sneaky buy at quarterback is Sam Howell. I mean, depending on what you have to give up. But I'm telling you right now, Seattle's like the Steelers. They always think that they're in win now mode. They think they can win all the time. If Geno Smith comes out and stinks, we've seen what Sam Howell could do in Washington. They let him throw it 50 times. And you have JSN, you still have Lockett, you still have Metcalf. I mean, he might be better served he might play better in Seattle than he did in Washington, given the opportunity as well. So I don't know. If I could sniff around that, maybe get him for a second or something, I would try it, because that could fill a quarterback need possibly as well. And if you could and let's be honest, when he played last year, he put up points. I mean, that's the thing about Sam Howell. I mean, he's kind of like Jameis Winston. He'll throw it 50 times. It might not be the prettiest thing in the world, but you're going to get fantasy points. It might not be good from an NFL perspective, but you can maybe do that. So that's something else I'd look at, HamShanks. If you ain't going to go quarterback at 103, which I probably would, but if I didn't want to do that, maybe go a different direction, I wouldn't even mind sniffing around Sam Howell for a second. And I know that sounds crazy, but I'm telling you right now, I think the leash is short there with Geno Smith in Seattle. We got a new coach coming in there. They want to win. They always want to win. And Sam Howell can throw it around a lot with the best of them whenever he's playing. So
absolutely,
might not be a bad.
I agree with that.
Many other moves you see, Wizz, or anything else you want to suggest?
I mean, for the most part, I would just try to kind of get another quarterback behind Russell Wilson and Tua in there, and you could kind of just stream it. If that's a cheap option like Aaron Rodgers, Sam Howell, or whoever it might be. Maybe even I kind of feel disgusted saying it or might suggesting it, but Bryce Young. I mean, his value is so depleted right now. The Panthers, new head coach.
Yeah.
They added Deontay Johnson. They're probably going to add some more in the late second or whenever they have a draft pick. I don't know when their next draft pick is. Maybe in 2026 they'll add another wide receiver there. But just kind of look at market trends and find the best value, and then that's the guy you should just kind of bank on and roll with, and that's kind of what my philosophy and strategy is for most of it. So.
Yeah, I like that, Wiz. And I think in conclusion here, HamShanks, my thing is to tell you, I'm looking at your roster. Number one, the tight end's a very important thing that you have to take advantage of here, and you got to try to get that situation settled. Number two is running back depth. And number three, could I trade Tua and either make a lateral move to someone I could trust more, like a Jordan Love or, like we said, a Brock Purdy with the game on the line? Of course, you can maybe get plus on top of that as well. I don't mind flipping Tua for either of them straight up, but if I can get plus, that's a bonus. So that would be like my third move. My fourth move would be, could I take Jordan Addison? Could I take JSN? Could I take Josh Downs, flip them for a little bit better receiving talent, a little more proven, but yet young? I don't want to give them up if I don't have to for someone that's ancient. But them are my moves. And I will say this, HamShanks, I think your best friend here is going to be D-Guide Chris. He's in a rebuild. He has a lot of pieces you could use. You're trying to get over the top and contend. And it's just like peanut butter and jelly, or it's like French fries and ketchup. You guys go good together, man. You got to make a little music. How about it?
Yeah, so you just got a tango. So.
Yep, that's it, man. That's it. Take advantage of it. But I think that'll do it. Hey, Wiz?
Yeah, absolutely. So, but thank you guys so much for watching. If you have not already, hit that like button, subscribe down below in there. And then also, if you haven't joined our Discord, it's $100 a month, right, TJ, or something like that?
Well, it was going for that, but now it's going for the discounted rate of free.
Whoa.
So if you're, yeah. I mean, I took my magical wand and I just went zing, and now it's free. So honestly, no, guys, it's always been free. And if you want to join it, I'm going to have it in the link in the description on the YouTube video. Me and Wiz are. Just click on that. You're welcome. We'd love to have you. It's a great place, as Wiz knows, to talk trades, player values, and just to meet some new friends. And it's great during the off season because it gives us a place where we can congregate like we did during the free agency period and the NFL draft coming up. I mean, that thing's going to be buzzing on draft.
Oh, absolutely. So, and, it's the off season, but it's NASCAR season. That thing's always blowing up on the weekends for NASCAR DFS. Yeah. So if you like DFS, there's a lot of DFS happening also in the Discord, and there are a lot of betting. And then once that info kicks up, a lot of us football guys are giving our picks and what we think is going to happen. You can tell us or fade us or whatever you want. But, yeah, there's a lot of things going on there. You meet new people, join leagues, stuff like that. So, but until the next video, catch you guys later. Adios.
See See ya.